Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can download our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the words Spot and Media. There was major chaos last night along the Norman Manley Highway on the Palisadoes Strip due to a gridlock along the roadway. Scores of people leaving the country missed their flights at the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston. Operations at the airport were also stalled. The chaos was caused by a holiday entertainment event approved by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. Details from TVJ's Herman Green.
A New Year's Day event was at the center of the traffic nightmare along the highway leading to the Norman Manley International Airport, NMIA. Persons coming to the island last night were forced to walk from the airport with their luggage due to the massive gridlock which stretched for miles. Angry callers to our newsroom complained that they had been stuck in traffic for hours trying to catch their flights at the airport. The traffic pileup lasted well into the night, despite police personnel being dispatched to the scene to ease the congestion. Operations at the airport were also affected as some airlines reportedly delayed their flights in order to accommodate the stranded passengers. Flight crew members and pilots were also impacted, unable to get to work. When contacted, Assistant Commissioner of Police Kevin Blake, who is the commander in charge of the corporate area, conceded that there may not have been a large enough police presence initially at the venue.
We had a challenge with the source because of the situation we have with it. I think we not the anticipated number of police personnel were present, and so that helped in increasing the problem.
The Airports Authority of Jamaica, which manages NMIA in Kingston, says it has started discussions with the police about measures to prevent a recurrence of yesterday's traffic chaos along the highway. Senior Director of Commercial Planning and Development at the Airports Authority of Jamaica, Alfred MacDonald, gave TVJ News an update this morning.
Well, I know that our president has been in contact with the police high command, and certainly options would be discussed as to how to treat with this. This is a corridor that takes passengers into the airport, the only corridor really, and therefore we have to look carefully at what the options could be that would cause the airport not to be affected by events of this nature. So the discussions will certainly be thorough.
He also had some advice for persons who missed their flight.
So we had flight delays, rather, not cancellations, for airlines primarily. Had flight delays, British, Cayman Airways, Caribbean Airlines, and Delta. Persons who were so affected by the challenge should make contact with the airlines to see how best there can be either rebookings if they miss the flight or any other arrangement that they need to make.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, National Security Minister Robert Montague has requested a report from Police Commissioner George Coelho on the circumstances which led to the traffic pileup. In a statement this morning, Mr. Montague said he wants Commissioner Coelho to outline the conditions surrounding the issuing of the permit, the policing plan that was put in place for the event, and steps that will be taken to hold someone accountable. The National Security Minister said the Police Commissioner is to provide him with the report by this afternoon. He said the report will be made public. And Mayor of Kingston, Delroy Williams, says last night's chaos on the Palisadoes Road was due to a breakdown in enforcement. Patrons at the party were parked inappropriately, and the problem was compounded when they were leaving the venue in a disorganized manner. In a response on Twitter, Mayor of Kingston, Delroy Williams, stated that traffic recommendations were made as required by law before granting the permit. In his tweet, he mentioned that there was a shuttle service and there was mandatory approval from the airport. He asserted that the breakdown was therefore due to a lack of enforcement. 2018 was off to a bloody start as several parishes recorded murders. In Westmoreland, there were 2 murders. One took place in Grange Hill, while the other was in George's Plain. Meanwhile, TVJ News understands that a man identified as 40-year-old Franklin Morgan of Yorktown and Comapen St. Elizabeth was killed in Clarendon this morning. And over in Ocheria, St. Anne, the parish recorded its first murder for 2018 following the killing of a man at a popular beach in the area. Dead is 21-year-old Nakeem Gardner of Pimento Walk, Ocho Rios. According to a police report, at about 3:50 p.m., Mr. Gardner and his friends were at the Little Duns River Beach in Ocho Rios when a dispute developed between him and a group of men. One of the men stabbed Gardner in his neck with a knife. He was taken to the St. Anne's Bay Regional Hospital where he was pronounced dead. It is believed that 2 suspects have been taken into custody. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government will be tabling legislation this year that will define the transformation of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF. According to the Prime Minister, the transformation of the JCF is needed to effectively fight crime. TVJ's O'Shane Masters has that story.
In his New Year's message, Mr. Holness said that the new legislation will replace the current JCF Act and focus on, among other things, preserving the integrity of the men and women who serve. He says the legislation will also ensure that corruption in the ranks of the police services does not compromise the ability of the force to fight crime. The Prime Minister says the government intends to also pass the MOCA Act and table the National Security Act, which will create a more coordinated framework for all agencies operating within the national security space. Mr. Holness says they will also continue the fight to rid the nation of illegal weapons for this year.
Illegal weapons and the organized criminal network around their procurement, importation, and distribution are national emergencies and will get national attention in 2018, which will include amendments to the Firearms Act, amendments to the anti-gang legislation, and amendments to the Bail Act. Last year, we allocated an additional $2.4 billion in the national budget to support the operations of the security forces and strengthen our crime-fighting capabilities. We will continue to make security spending a priority.
He says the government will also look to have an increase in the establishment of Zones of Special Operations, ZOSO.
We continue our resolve to make Jamaica safe and secure. Zones of Special Operations have shown Jamaicans that our security forces can police communities and control crime in localities without abusing citizens' rights. We have now created a framework for the whole of government response to citizen security. 2018 must be the year when we scale up the Zones of Special Operations to reclaim communities that have been captured by criminals.
Last year, the country recorded over 1,600 murders. O'Shane Masters for TVJ News.
And Police Commissioner George Quayle says the police will intensify its crackdown on violence producers in 2018. In his message in the latest edition of the Force Orders, the Commissioner admitted that 2017 was a challenging year with more than 1,600 people murdered. Commissioner Quayle acknowledged that the force was tested with what he described as the unusual increase in murders. He admitted that the bloodletting sparked rising fear among citizens, especially in the last quarter of the year. However, he urged members of the force to press for a better result in 2018. The Commissioner also commended police personnel for their efforts to remove illegal guns and ammunition off the streets last year. 855 illegal guns and nearly 22,000 rounds of ammunition were seized by the police. An outpouring of love and support is being felt for family members of the Bronx Fire victims as they remembered their loved ones at a vigil Monday night. 12 persons perished in the fire last week. We have more from New York station Pix 11.
Tonight's candlelight vigil was especially difficult for Katie Ann Blake. She's pregnant. She just got out of the hospital a few hours ago, and she was the last person to make it down the fire escape of the burning building alive. Her silent tears spoke volumes. Katie Ann Blake left the hospital and came straight here, leaning on the place where her aunt and her 3 cousins were killed in last week's fire.
It's like, when are we going to wake up? You know, when is this nightmare going to be over? Is this for real?
It was one of the worst fires in recent New York City history. Katie Ann was in the building, asleep. Her son sounded the alarm.
He said, "Mommy, I smell smoke."
With thick smoke in the air and flames inching closer, there was no time to check for their relatives in other apartments.
And everybody had passed us. We were the last ones who came down from the fire escape. And when I looked up, I was like, there's no way my aunt can get down.
And now, on one of the coldest nights of the year, Katie Ann was not alone.
God gave us life And now we say to him, in the midst of our tears, we trust in you.
Her close-knit relatives held on to each other during a vigil. Their cries carried into the winter sky, candles burned as a tribute. Shantae Young, Karen Francis, the little girls Kylie and Kalisha. They prayed for all 12 lives lost last Thursday inside 2363 Prospect Avenue.
To remember all of those who we miss so much tonight.
In the meantime, the family of the Jamaicans who died in the Bronx Fire are now making arrangements to have their bodies flown back to Jamaica for burial. A GoFundMe page has been set up for 2-year-old Kylie Francis, 7-year-old Carmela Francis, 37-year-old Karen Francis, and the family's 19-year-old niece, Shantae Young. You can donate by going to the website on the screen, www.gofundme.com/FrancisYoung-Bronx-Fire-MEM Fund. In news overseas, the South Korean president has welcomed Kim Jong-un's apparent willingness to enter into dialogue and called for swift measures to help North Korea participate in the 2018 Olympics. Details from the CNN.
Well, Hannah, it's certainly taken some people by surprise. It's a much more conciliatory tone from Kim Jong-un than we have seen towards South Korea for a long time. I mean, a year ago, we had North Korean officials saying that they were going to see if there could be a different kind of relationship with the U.S., with the new Trump administration. Now, clearly, that did not go well last year. There was a lot of personal and bitter attacks between those two leaders, and it appears as though now North Korea is trying a different strategy. They are trying to reach out to South Korea, knowing certainly the South Korean President Moon Jae-in has in the past said that he is very willing to have dialogue and engagement with North Korea. Now, this is the reaction from the South Korean president.
The improvement of relations between North and South Korea cannot go separately with resolving North Korea's nuclear program. So the foreign ministry should coordinate closely with allies and the international community regarding this.
So certainly the South Korean president hoping that this will lead to something. What we know so far is the South Korean government has suggested January 9th, so next Tuesday, to have high-level talks at Panmunjom, which is the border village in the DMZ, which is partly in North Korea, partly in South Korea. And we haven't had a response from North Korea as yet as to whether or not they would be willing to go with that date. The South Koreans saying it has to be that quickly and it has to be high-level because there's only a month to go before the Olympics. They have to sort out those details.
And in sports, one of the graduates from the recent Jamaica Racing Commission's Trainers Program became the first from the batch to saddle a winner at Caymanas Park on Monday's New Year's Day card. Here's TVJ's Spencer Darlington.
10-year-old Baymere Money Never Sleep, who was sent off as the 3-5 favorite, landed the Mackay Security Limited Trophy for $180,000 claimers over 9 furlongs and 25 yards for a purse of $1 million. Money Never Sleep was ridden by 3-time former champion jockey Dane Nelson.
And Money Never Sleep will turn for home with that lead in the Mackay Security. It's Money Never Sleep, the one to catch. Rich's pick went miles wide. Over against the rail, he's the railings. Cause for concern, trying to close up in the center, but Nelson has a look in his mirrors. Here on the rail is a Rich's pick, but it's Money Never Sleep on the far side, holding the lead toward the final 16th. Rich's pick is under the stand fence. Money Never Sleep on the far side with the lead under Dane Nelson. He continues to use his mirrors, and Money Never Sleep will win it. Second goes to Rich's pick. He's the Rail Lynx's third.
Money Never Sleep was saddled to victory by Anthony Dixon, who was one of 22 trainers who recently received their licenses, having graduated from the Jamaica Racing Commission's Trainers Program.
It's very nice to do it, you know, you understand me? Because everybody would like to do it, and I do it first. So that's feeling's very nice.
Elsewhere on the card, the 6-5 favorite Awesome Destiny was made to work hard for victory in the Fan Appreciation Day Trophy. Awesome Destiny, who was ridden by apprentice Dane Dawkins for trainer Gary Sabrati, experienced traffic problems in the stretch drive, but eventually got home by half a length in the overnight allowance contest for 3-year-old and up over 9 furlongs and 25 yards.
Time for Arms, Royal Vibes and Dallas La Paz, but into the lane they go. A quarter of a mile to run. Dysfunctional is on the rail. Dancing Queen is fighting on in between horses. Awesome Destiny looking for space. Dante toward the outside, further back to Lucky Stroke wide, and Dante now snatches the lead. Awesome Destiny finally gets racing room. It's Dante with a 16th to run. Awesome Destiny now has to erupt on the outside. It's Dante and Awesome Destiny. Awesome Destiny wins it over Dante. Dysfunctional.
Oh, she ran well. I thought we wanted to be a little closer in the beginning, but a lot of speed was in the race, so we decided to just relax a little bit. He ran a really, he got a couple of interference on the back stretch, as I was a little worried about. Coming around the turn, he looked like he got back himself back together and started to get back in the race. Got back down on the inside. The apprentice made a good decision to turn him back outside, and he got there at the end.
Meanwhile, Diligent at 5-2 with apprentice O'Neill Scott riding for trainer Patrick Lynch captured the New Year's Day trophy, a restricted allowance 3 contest over 6.5 furlongs.
Diligent not too far away to land a blow, nor Blue Tradition, and Malachi is asked to close widest of them all, but Muscatoon is a battler. Diligent now edging closer all the while. Malachi on the outside of API. Diligent on the rail now grabs a slim lead over Muscatoon. Malachi closing too late. Diligent wins it. Close between Malachi and Muscatoon.
Nelson and Scott each had 2 wins among the jockeys, while no trainer had more than 1 win on the program. Racing continues on Saturday. Spencer Darlington, TVJ Sports.
And that's the midday news. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Do remember to join us at 7 for the primetime news package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.